Hey everybody, thanks for joining me in the Bible reading plan. We're in the last chapter, chapter 13 of 2 Corinthians today. And in verse 2, he says, I warned those who sinned before and all others, and I warn them now while I'm absent, as I did when present on my second visit, that if I come again, I will not spare them. Paul is saying, I've warned them twice. I'm going to warn them again. Well, we know the church of Corinth is kind of in a mess, and they're kind of doing whatever they want to. And he says, I will not spare them. And that word spare is a word used in battle. We're talking about sparing a life. Paul is saying he's not going to spare them from condemnation. He's going to go and he's going to point out their sins. He's going to, he's already done it gently. He's now going to go and confront them about their sin because holiness matters. And that's what Paul is going to show us. Holiness matters. It matters to God. And if we are people who claim to have Christ, then we are now representing him. And now holiness matters all the more. And Paul has already said in verse 20 of last chapter 12, he says, for I fear that perhaps when I come, I may find you not as I wish. And that's his fear in this whole letter. And he says, and that you may find me not as you wish, that perhaps there may be quarreling, jealousy, anger, hostility, slander, gossip, conceit, and disorder. I fear that when I come again, my God may humble me before you, and I may have to mourn over many of those who sinned earlier and have not repented of the impurity, the sexual immorality, and the sensuality that they have practiced. Now, Paul is saying, he's saying there's going to be all these sins, and then there's going to be sexual immorality, sensuality they have practiced. And I feel like the church gets a bad rap today, saying, people say that, you just preach against sex. A lot of pastors preach against sex, but that's not what Paul is saying here. And I don't think that's what pastors usually mean, because if you imagine a fireplace and you have a lot of logs in the fireplace and you use the fireplace, you light it on fire and it's heating your home. And at that moment, the fire is a good thing. But say a log rolls out of the fire and then your house catches on fire. That fire is no longer a good thing. And it's the same thing with sex. And Paul's not trying to keep good things away from the Corinthians. He's trying to keep this danger of sin away from them and then encourage them to be holy, like God is holy. So he's saying, you can have this gift of sex in the right context, in the context of marriage, and outside of that marriage, sex is a dangerous thing. It's a sinful thing. It's a perverted thing. And he's trying to warn them against that. But yeah, he's going and he's saying he is not sparing them. And it reminds me of something in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. He says, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. So I ask you today, when we're talking about confronting people, going out to people, telling them their sin, if you know someone who is in sin, who is a Christian, it's very important that we point this out, say you're living a life of sin. That's not, you're not representing Jesus well, who you claim to represent. So you need to go and confront that person. And Paul says, do it with a spirit of gentleness, knowing that we are not perfect, we sin, but trying to uplift that person and say, hey, this is not a path that is honoring to God or going to end well with yourself. I like verse 4. It says, for he was crucified, Jesus, in weakness, but lives by the power of God. For we also are weak in him, but in dealing with you, we will live with him by the power of God. He talks about the Jesus Christ who is in us, so we live by his power. And the truth is, Jesus Christ, his spirit is in us, and we represent him through that, and we can live through him if we submit to him. But the church of Corinth isn't doing that. Whether or not they have the spirit of Jesus in them, I do not know, but the ones who do, we're not walking in that spirit. So Paul was worried when he came that he wouldn't find what he wanted to find. But I love his final greetings in verse 11. He says, rejoice, aim for restoration. And that's what we all can do. Aim for restoration. Comfort one another. Agree with one another. Live in peace. And the God of love and peace will be with you. And I love that, that live in peace, because if we're walking in the way, if you were with us this Sunday, if we're planting ourselves in the good soil, then we can live in peace with one another, and our souls can have peace, because you'll never have peace when you're not planted in the firm foundation of Jesus Christ. And that's what he's encouraging them to do. Don't go out in the world. Don't believe the lie that Satan tells that God is holding something from you. He's actually trying to usher you into what you were made to do, so you may prosper as well. That's not the prosperity gospel. That's truth, that you will prosper. Your soul will be fulfilled the most when you are doing what you were made to do, which is give God the glory. But thank you for joining me in 2 Corinthians. I hope to see you tomorrow in Galatians chapter 1. Have a good day. Bye.